Rick Strong, what's up, baby?
Doing, buddy? How you
Good,
doing?
you looking good, man. Did you work out this morning?
I did. I'm with you and the ToBeRe crowd.
I know, right? How did it feel to, you live in Sedona, how did it feel to be back in the energy of the group?
I got to tell you, for everyone who was there, man, you just made my day, my week, my month. It was just so great to be back with that group. It's like being back in a community that you never really left. Everybody's warm and welcoming, and you have a history with people. Plus, you're doing something that's so exciting and physical.
Yeah.
And it's healthy and great for you. Man, I'd like to stay with you.
It just really feels good, man. And you slid right back into the group like you never left. How does that feel?
Well, it was, the thing that was troubling was I owe so many people money, and they all reminded me when I came back. So I couldn't. And the other thing that's great is that you don't know this about Keith, but we always finish our workout with, when we come to the studio, with a nice big bowl of piping hot dog water.
Whatever. No, we don't. Everybody who knows I'm vegetarian and I'm not get down with the hot dogs. So do not believe that. Do not believe that. Man, but yeah, it was really great to have you.
It was
work
sweet.
out.
It was sweet, man.
So what's today's title?
Well, I was thinking, we're talking a lot about people in our show notes that we like and people who are instructive to us and help us. And I think maybe one of the things we ought to talk about is how do you know who to believe?
I love it. So the title of the show is Who to Believe.
Yeah, who to believe.
I love it. Okay, so should I start?
Yeah, please. Let's
what I found nowadays, the people that I choose to believe are the people that have no agenda. They just want to see me be as conscious as possible. They are literally unconditional in their love and support of me. And everything that they say to me, any kind of advice they offer, any kind of words of wisdom, is always in the space and in the spirit of helping me be my best self.
How did you find those people? How do you go about looking in the first place, and then how do you know you found somebody that you can trust?
What it was? It was a long journey. I've listened to a lot of people, and not to mention the voice in my head, the ego
Always
and the negative self-talk telling me to be mad or be resentful or hold on to anger or perceived slight. So that was part of it. But I kind of got on this journey. I got tired of suffering, tired of being upset, tired of just being unsettled, worried, anxiety. And so I wanted something new and different. And they say, when you're ready, the teacher will appear.
That's good advice.
And literally that's what happened. And so it started with Tony Robbins. And at that point, I was really about achieving and doing. And then that served me well for a while, but I still held on to resentment. I was making progress in my career, in my other endeavors, but I was still not peaceful. And so then I got to the point to where I wanted more. I wanted to be peaceful. And I started to come in contact with people like you. When you and I met back in 2007. And before that, there was a guy that I met back in the late 90s, and we just happened to bump into each other in the gym. And this guy was always just really calm. I mean, like we'd come in from to the workout, and he did something in telecommunications, and I was in financial planning at the time. And he would say, "Hey, Keith, man, you okay? Is everything all right?" And I was like, "No, man, the stock market dropped 400 points today."
Yikes.
And he said to me, he's like, "So how does it make you feel?" And I was like, "How do you think it makes me feel, man? I lost money, clients lost money, portfolios are down. I don't feel good, And he's like, "Okay." He didn't have to say anything. He didn't preach to me. He didn't tell me the way I was reacting was wrong. He just let that kind of sit there. And every time I saw this guy, no matter what was happening in the world or what may be going on in his life, it was simply an event, and he was calm through it all. So I started asking him, like, man, one day I always felt good around him.
That's what I was going to say. You wanted that for yourself.
Yeah, I always felt calm. Like when I left him, even when I came in as a hot mess in a train wreck, he always left me feeling calm. If I was insecure about my girlfriend, or whatever, he would be calm and give me a different way of looking at it. And so that's where it started, is being around certain people and then asking them, who do you listen to? What do you do? And he happened to meditate. And so he turned me on to a few things. What about you?
Well, similar journey. I think that for me, I heard something maybe a few years before I started ToBeRe that put me down a path similar to yours, and that was that every person is superior to you in some way. Every person who's walking out there. I mean, even people you don't like, there's something that that person has that makes him superior. And by superior, I mean having a better, more workable, more compassionate way of living. And so what I tried to do years ago was to try to find that one thing in other people and try to emulate it, or try to see how they handle things differently than I did that was more successful and brought them more inner peace. That was the first step. And then the second step was, that caused me to be open to everyone. So I start with the proposition that everybody's got something to teach me. And the more you're open like that, the more you hear about, oh, well, he likes Tony Robbins, you know, or he likes Wayne Dyer or Tara Brach, or so it leads you from the personal to the more abstract, and the people who are dealing with this as a way of living. I mean, Tara Brach and Wayne Dyer and all of these people who are invested in self-help have studied it. And so you're taking advantage of that as well. So those two things, I think, were very helpful for me. And a lot of things, kicking and screaming, I had to learn the hard way that my way wasn't working and it wasn't being efficient. And so that was kind of the leverage, you know, you want to change because, hey, I don't want to feel bad in the gym. I don't want to feel bad when the stock market goes down. So you emulate behaviors of other people that have been successful about handling what you're having difficulty with.
Right. Yeah, you know, and for me, and you know, I'd like you to kind of get your take on it too, is that this teaching or this way of living to be peaceful inside, the people that do that, one thing that I found they all have in common is that if I don't take their advice, they're not upset or mad at me for not taking their advice. You know, like they really don't have an agenda. Where I know that there are some, you know, teachers or philosophers or maybe some people who practice a certain religion. I mean, the religion in itself is really uplifting and inclusive, but sometimes people can kind of interpret it in a way that is restricted to other people or non-inclusive. And so, and if you don't follow that particular path, then they're upset with you, you're disappointed, or you're doing the wrong thing. But the teachers that I've been really, that resonate with me are the ones that they're really unconditional, whether I follow it or not. They're like, hey, you know, the way that you're doing it, you know, seems to be adding a lot of suffering to your life. If that's what you want, continue your path. And they don't change how they treat me, though. They're still, you know, loving and everything.
I think you're right on the money on that one. I think one of the things we all have is a second sense about whether we're being ripped off, like financially.
Right.
But we have less of a sense about whether people are trying to get us to do something that maybe we would like to do, but we're not sure about it. And my test is that if there's something that the other person is getting out of it, other than an altruistic good feeling for helping you, that's something that you need to keep an eye on. Right. You know, if it's like, hey, you're not doing it right, or this isn't going to work, or you're applying my principles in a wrong way, or you have to do something, I think that's a sign that maybe you're not with the right person who's got your interest at heart.
Absolutely. And you know, and if they allow me, and they accept my choice to maybe say, hey, I understand what you're saying, I appreciate your support and help. You know, I don't think that's for me, or maybe I'm not quite ready for that.
Right.
If they accept it and they don't treat me any different, their energy isn't different, then that's when, you know, I feel like I can believe this person.
We had a discussion, I think, we were going to do it on we went to Malibu. We drove over together, and I think I remember this conversation about talking about how people get involved in things, but they don't really realize what the heck the cost might be. And one of the things that we talked about was, hey, what do you do in a situation where there's like a sensual excitement about participating in something? And we were saying, well, you know, on one hand, it really is draining, and on the other hand, it's very uplifting. Should we keep doing the sensual even if it doesn't have any reward for us? And the answer is, yeah, you can do anything you want, but remember there are consequences for whatever you do, you know. And so I think that a philosophy that embraces whatever all of humanity is likely to do, or whatever human impulses we have is, or are, I think that's the one that you want to look at, or at least try to take cafeteria style dips of it.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's been a journey for me to get to this point, and I'm nowhere near as conscious as I could be. But I mean, it's a journey, and I'm working on it every day. And I want to be so committed to this process of growing that the closer I get, that they move the goalpost another 2 yards, further away.
Right.
So that I mean, that's how much I want to love the process, that I never get the goal. Like I want to be that much in it. For every yard I take forward, they move the process, they move the goal 2 yards further. So, I mean, that's when you really love the process, and that's what I'm trying to live into. But it wasn't always that way, because there were a ton of people that tried to clue me in to, and they were the people that I should have believed, but I didn't. So, for example, my stepfather, and I've talked about that in a lot of podcasts, I was so invested in making him the villain, and which in turn made me the victim, and telling everybody how awful he was and how awful my childhood was. And when I wasn't talking about it, this energy was following me everywhere. I was so invested in that. And I had people during my childhood telling me, Keith, let it go. It's gonna be okay. As I got older, man, you still holding on to that, let it go. Whenever somebody mentioned my stepfather's name, I kept saying, no, you don't understand, you don't understand. I was upset with them. It's like I couldn't even talk to them anymore. And I was like, are you crazy?
You don't realize what pain I'm in right
exactly.
now.
You stupid. Like, you minimizing my pain.
Man,
like, you don't know what's going on. And guess what? They were
They
smart.
were right.
They were so wise.
They were right.
They were wise, man. They were telling me to let this go.
That's right.
And I couldn't do it, man. I was like, my ego was so identified with that. And if you take away him as the villain and all these bad things he did to me in my story and my emotions about, hating him and he's a bad guy and all this other stuff, what's my identity?
That's
like I'm responsible now?
Yeah, that's right. It comes back to you.
Exactly, but they tried to tell me, and now I look at people that come from that place of forgiveness and unconditional love and compassion, who are living with a higher purpose. Those are the people that I am looking to believe.
And now that you've done it a bit, doesn't it feel better? Doesn't it feel better to not carry around all that
Rick.
baggage and have to think
Absolutely.
about revenge and think about holding a grudge?
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of energy to do that. So when people say let it go, it's really for your own good, because you're letting it go to make room, to hold space for other things
Absolutely.
of more value.
And when people tell me that, they are spot on. I don't care what the situation is. They are spot on. I get wronged, at work, or I get wronged by a client, or wronged by a family member, or the government, or whatever else. Let it go.
Well,
I mean, whatever I can do.
Right.
But so many things, as you said, as Tim has said, is out of our control. So don't worry about it anyway. And at that point, let it go.
I like the let it go thing, coupled with one other idea, and that's the idea of not only letting it go, but sending love in its place, or sending love right
Yes.
after. Hook it with love. Whatever the question is in the world, whatever that might be, the answer is always love.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. It doesn't have to be love in the sense of like romantic love or filial love or that kind of love. It's just a feeling like it's okay, a
Right.
feeling of goodness, a feeling
Right.
of okayness.
Yes.
And if you can send that to the problem, or send that to the person that you think is persecuting you after you let it go, that kind of cleans it up and closes the wound.
Exactly. So before we close, I gave an example of me, wise people telling me to let things go.
Okay.
What's an example of maybe in your past that someone gave you some advice, or you read something that would have been helpful, but your ego just wouldn't let you believe that what they were saying, or believe that teacher when they were giving you that advice?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I'm a reader, and a lot of my inspiration has come from people who are dead, who have gone through things that I think are similar to what I'm going through, what all of us are going through. And one of my favorites is an ancient Chinese philosopher named Lao Tzu.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he said, and we need to do a show on this, by the way, is that we're constantly being bombarded by information and by things that we can't control. And we're coping with those in a way usually where we're trying to incorporate more and more information to be better, to be more efficient, to be, have more money in our lives, to have more love in our lives. Well, his saying that got me, that I thought was terrific, and it stopped me in my tracks about pursuing more. That was, if you want knowledge, add more things. If you want wisdom, take things away. And I thought, man,
You're cooking right now. You cooking, baby. Cook, Rick, you cook.
well, that's Lao Tzu, not me, man.
Well, hey, you cooking too.
But the point of the idea is that, if you can get past what your ego is constantly saying, which every day, every moment is, I need, I want, you got to break that. If you break that, and you can just stop it, there's a whole inner access to things that you don't have that make you much more human and much more content and much more peaceful and happy.
Right. So Rick, thank you. What are,
Welcome.
2 or 3 things or takeaways you can give with our audience before we close the show about who to believe?
Well, I think your idea that you started out with is great. That is, do they have your best interest at heart?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything coming back to them for giving the advice that they're giving you, or the suggestions that they're giving you? Secondly, does it feel good? Does it make sense to you in your own personal scheme of things, your own belief system? Does it make sense for you? Thirdly, being open, being able to look at any possible person as someone who might be a teacher for you, where you can take things from them, and who are they learning from?
Right.
The whole world is available to us, and we only deal with little tiny slices of it.
Right.
That whole world, everybody who's ever existed, who's ever said anything important, right there for you to take a look at. And you have Google, so there's no excuse not to
Right.
read it.
No doubt. Rick, thank you for a great show, my man.
I love you. Thank you. Thanks, Heath. But adios.